Membership churn is what I'm going to talk about in this video today. Hi, I'm Dave from Integrate Pro, and I've got a churn calculator that will help tell you what the impact on your revenue is in your business when people leave your membership at certain times. So, for definition, churn is the number of people that start in a certain time frame divided by the number of people that leave over that time frame. So as an example, what that means is if you have 10 people start your membership at the beginning of the month and you lose one person, your churn is 10%, 1 divided by 10. Doesn't matter if you have people join during that month. It's simply the number of people that dropped out versus the number of people you started with. So you may have gained 3 people, but at the end you netted 2. So the start of the second month, your starting number is 12, and however many you lose over that second month will be used to calculate churn. So just want to get that out of the way, but this is kind of an important concept because it really shows you the impact, how big of an impact losing members are. So let's start with something real easy. Let's just put in no members starting and a simple gaining 5 people per month, paying $99 a month. Let's look out 5 years. And let's look at some different churn rates, 2, 5, and 10%, and let's see what impact that has on your business. So after 5 years, 10% churn, you would have generated $213,000 total revenue. 5%, $361,000, and then 2%, $552,000. So huge difference, huge, big, 2.5 times as much. Or not quite. Actually, I think so. Just by having that churn rate be 2% versus 10%. So let's go back one more time. And I'm going to just say, let's start with 100 people. It's going to put a big blip on the front there. So this one now is 336. I think that was 200 something, 594, 873. So when you start with people earlier in your membership, with the same churn rate, you're going to have a significantly higher revenue over time. Now, I'm going to go back and put in 0 here. Let's start with 0 again and use those same numbers. This time, I'm going to add some custom calculations here. And what I'd like to do is let's replicate the 5%. So I'm just going to put in 5 here. And this will populate the rest of them since they aren't filled in. So it's going to be identical to that second curve. We'll have 2 curves that are identical. We've got this custom one that sits right on top of the 5%er. And if you look, 361 versus 361. Now here's what I want to get across. Let's just say, people, for whatever reason, quit after a year. All of a sudden your churn rate goes up to 20%. So the first year after, 20% of the people quit versus normally 5%. So everything else is the same, 5% versus 5%, except for that 1 month where you lose 20% of your customers. It does make a big difference. So after 5 years, you've gone from 361 to 352, so $10,000. Hold on, let's do this one more time. So we did a 20% there. Let's say on the second year, you lose 20%. Now, you got to realize you've got a lot more members at this point than you did after a year. So maybe not so early on, but if you have an event like this later in your membership, after 2 years, you've got 20% people going, there's going to be issues. And this totally shifts things. So you went from 361 for 5% churn all the way down to 178. So all things stayed the same. Churn was 5%. You're taking in 5 people a month at $99. The only thing that changed was for the first 2 years at the 12-month mark, you had 20% people drop out. So it will end up having a big impact on the amount of money you make or take in over time. So use this calculator to get an idea of what's possible. But realize it's kind of theoretical. You can come in here, and this is what I'd encourage you to do, is put in actual numbers you have. And let me just start. Here's typically what I see, 0%. Nobody leaves first month. Very few people oftentimes leave the second month. Let's put it there. And then we start creeping around. Whoops, things aren't going so well, all of a sudden we've got people dropping out like mad. And then maybe after 6 months, it's going to start coming down. Let's go 8. And let's just say there's this going on here. Now, it's early on in your membership. You've got a chance to dial things in. It won't have as big an impact as it would if it was out here. Let me put that back to 5. And month 12, let's make sure that's at 5%. And let's compare those two now. So if you look at this, we did have some hiccups early on where a lot of people churned out, if you will, on a percent basis. But because there isn't as many people, it's not as impactful as if it happens later in time. So in other words, you can mess things up a little bit, not worry about it. But over time, you hopefully will have learned. You've got your process dialed in. People understand, what's going on. Let me just put these back. Let's just make this happen out here. Let's just say, this goes up to 9%. 9. And actually, let's leave this at 5. And let's say from now for the next 3 years, it's going to be 6%. So 5% up to the first almost 2 years, and then it turns into 6%. 361 versus 326. So almost $40,000. Let's put this at 7%. So now there's a $60,000 difference. 8%. Oops. Did that catch? Let's do 9%. $285. So it just keeps dropping. That's why, especially early on, not such a big deal if you do lose people, but it does have an impact. But once you get a larger and larger population, there definitely becomes a significant difference in results over time. So hope that helps. Feel free to use this to get some ideas on what the impact can be when you do lose people in your business, because it does happen. Thanks.